What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode and another week of the What the Fuck podcast. I'm Nick with more energy this week because my friend last week said the episode felt weird. So,
Yeah, totally.
so he
I
said
said the same when I saw it too.
he said
It was
it
kind of
felt
like,
weird. I was exhausted, guys. We both worked overnight. I was
yes,
tired. I normally don't do it. I work mornings. I'm normally working
yeah.
right now. I'm not used to it. I'm dead tired. Sorry that I didn't. Sorry that I felt weird. Whatever.
Totally.
And that's
Exactly.
Gunk.
He's bringing the energy today, guys. Come on now, look.
Yeah,
I just came up for work, so now I'm the one that's gonna be down low. So
now
it's
Gunk's
all
dead.
good.
Because we're doing this
He's
an
gonna
hour
bring it up
early.
for us now.
So Gunk.
Yes, sir.
I did introduce you. That's Gunk up there. We are back
is
for
me.
our first episode post-trade deadline. I had
Oh,
uploaded
yes.
a video last week on deadline day at the deadline of a lot of the trades that went through. I missed some that happened after I uploaded the video because I did not have it in me to go back through.
I got you.
So we're going to talk
Absolutely.
about it now.
Yes, let's talk about.
The one that I missed, and it's probably the biggest one that probably should have ended up being on the video. Of course. I hit stop recording. I get it ready to start uploading, and I hear a call from downstairs. Nick, guess fucking what? Oh no, what? And all I hear is the rat's going to the rat's nest, and I was just like, what the fuck kind of riddle are you saying to me? I was just like,
Exactly.
it didn't click because I was just like, I just got done recording and I'm thinking about every other trade. I don't know what the fuck you're saying to me.
Oh my God.
So I inquired more and he was like, Marshawn to the Panthers. And I was just like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
For a second round pick. And Boston retained on some of this. They
Yes,
retained,
they
I want to say
did.
50%.
Yes.
So with the way that works out, I want to say Marshawn's contract was like $4 million. $3 million of it was in like signing bonuses that were already paid out. So they retained 50% of that. So realistically, the way the math works out, Florida's only paying for Marshawn for like $125,000.
What a deal. And
What
a
a
playoff run.
deal!
What
And
a
all
deal.
and all for Marshawn and the Bruins being around $1.25 million off from each other in terms of contract.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, and I want to say I heard Marchand say that he only wanted to go to the Panthers after that.
I was just about to bring that up. That's basically why he was able to just get to Florida. Any other team that was even in discussions, he would not go to. I think he wants to make a Stanley Cup run, which again, he's an older player. He's almost at the end. He wants to make one. He won a cup with Boston. He wants to win another one. I mean, it is what it is. But again, if he's a free agent coming up, he could go back to Boston. So it's not like it's out of the possibility that he'll never go back again. So, again, Boston right now, as we talked about all year, has just been really disappointing this year. And at the trade deadline, they were one of the biggest sellers of the market this year. So, they've seemed like they've given up on this year and have backed off a little bit for, picks and everything. So, like I said, right now, the Bruins are, in a middle funk right now. So it's gonna be fun to see, especially this offseason, which direction they go into.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the moves that they made, selling off a lot of their like main guys, I think they're moving in a direction towards, I don't want to say a rebuild because you have the pieces to get back to the playoff. You were in the playoffs last year with most of these guys. So I think you can do a quick retool, come back, try to compete for like third place in the division, try to get back into a playoff spot again. Just try to figure it out. And I feel like you could have a pretty good team again, but I don't think the guys in charge are going to be able to do that. I don't have faith in the Boston front office to not just keep doing the same things that they're doing, and the things that they've been doing haven't been that good.
No, absolutely not. Ever since this whole year, from signing, signing period at last beginning of the league year basically, and
Hmm.
from now they've just been horrific. They fired their coach. They've gone through stretches where they just can't score. They've played terribly all year, and it's one of those things it's could be just an off year, but again, they decided, like I said, it's not a total rebuild, but like I said, about a middle a mid kind of like sell off. Just like I said, let's give up on this season. Let's build some draft capital, and then we'll go from there starting next year. So again, they're in a weird spot right now. They're in that like middle of the road. They don't know which way they're gonna go. Do they just completely tank, like San Jose, or do they,
I
like you
don't
said?
think so because you're so
I don't think so
close
either.
still. Like you're only
Yeah.
2 points off of Columbus for that last spot. I think you can still do it. And
Which is why when I heard about the deal, it was really weird to hear about. Like I was like really, it was shocking. And it was after the 4 p.m. deadline. Like it didn't come through until past 4 p.m. And again, even watching the coverage, it was I say.
it's 3 p.m. You said 4.
Oh, 3 p.m. I'm sorry. It came about around
Yeah,
like three
it
thirty,
was
four
so.
o'clock. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it hit at the deadline, and I was just like, okay. I mean, they were. I mean, trades can come through after, so I wasn't entirely surprised. But it was the trade itself that it just came through all like you didn't hear anything all day,
No.
and then all of a sudden it was just like Marchand's going to Florida. Sure, sure, guy, sure.
Yeah, and again, he was on a lot of people's list as maybe like the fourth or fifth guy available, maybe for a trade, like on a lot of those like top 10 lists, before the trade deadline. He was about like 5 or 6 on that list. It could be traded, could not, depends on which way they go, but you know, they decided, to pull the trigger on it, and this is where he wants to be, and he will be a rat in the rat's nest, as we said at the beginning.
Yeah, and with the trade deadline, it has come and gone. I didn't talk about anything that the Rangers or Devils did on that episode that I did the other day by myself, but we're gonna talk about it now because we're here. The Devils, they brought in Cody Glass from Pittsburgh, Brian Dumoulin, Daniel Sprung, and Jonathan Gruden. Um, these are depth depth trades because you need people that can score in the lower parts of your lineup.
Absolutely.
That's just kind of the Devils' biggest issue right now is they don't have guys that are scoring, and that seems to
Yeah,
be the biggest. That seems to always be the issue with with Devils teams.
it really is.
Like
It's
every year, we always talk about how they can't score.
right, exactly. It doesn't depend. It doesn't matter how good the goaltending is. It's always just seems like it just, especially in big games, they just don't come up with the combination where they could put up a 5 spot or a 6 spot. It's always they're either, if they're winning those games, it's always a 2-1, 3-2 game, or it's a blowout the other way. I mean, like I said, it's really weird how, again, they never had a 100-point scorer, which we all thought Jack Hughes would be this year, but again, with the unfortunate that with the shoulder injury and being out for the year. I mean, Brad has a really good chance. He had a really good game the other night against Columbus. So, maybe he's getting his mojo back. Everybody's starting to groove, and like I said, we'll see how the season goes. But yeah, I said these are I particularly like the moves just as a just to settle everything down. Like, I mean, again, we had the Jack Hughes injury. We've had, was said, now we have Dougie Hamilton out for the year. That just came through yesterday. I mean, Siegenthaler's out for the year. So these are more moves of like, let's 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 start like let's keep contending for a playoff spot this year, but let's look to the future a little bit and let's build up our bottom six up. So because again, a lot of these teams are, you can't just have one superstar bring it all. You need those components of teams. You need depth scoring, you need good defense, you need a defensive defense. You need all these components to be a Stanley Cup, even a contender, not even just a winner, just a contender. And you see how Florida is. You see how they're built, and that's, again, success breeds it. And people are looking for those bottom six guys, and sometimes they cost a lot now. I mean, you figure, stars used to go for, first round picks only. Now it's, lower guys that are going for first round picks and second round picks and stuff. So,
Yeah,
you know,
this was such a seller's market this year. You could have had a guy that you've been Brock Nelson. He was a lifelong Islander, played there the entire time, got a first round pick, and he's in his 30s.
right, exactly. That was my point exactly was like I said, these guys would go for, lower picks or, lower guys, AHL players, future draft picks and stuff. And now they're getting high premium, if you're scoring 25 to 30 goals, you're getting, a couple first round picks if you want to trade this guy. I mean, that's what the market is right now. And it's, he said it's a seller's market, and teams are building up, trying to build up that capital, especially at the bottom half of their roster right now. And like I said, for me, I like the moves of the Devils. I mean, like I said last week, I was hoping for a big splash, maybe one of the bigger guys, one of the big names up there. But for the way this team played, especially the last two games, like I like this team the way it's built coming out. They're playing defensively. They're playing back. They're helping out Markstrom, on the back end. They're getting quality scoring now from the bottom with, again, as we just mentioned, Corey Glass, who nobody thought would come in. He's had 3 points in the last two games. He's really adapted to this system, and it's really nice to see. Eric Hollis got off the snide the other day. I mean, playing with Glass and Sprague the other day, I mean, that line looked one of the best of all the lines they had that night. I mean, seriously, it's like I said, the additions were very nice. I liked them. Again, I would love to have the big splash, yes, just because it just never seems like they do the big splash. But like I said, I'm happy right now. Like I said, we're third in the Metro. We're still 6 points away from Carolina. They still have one game in hand. We're 6 points now behind Columbus, 7 points behind, in front of Columbus, and 7 points in front of the Rangers. So, like I said, they're in a pretty good spot with about 19 games left to go. Even if they could play out the rest of the season at like a 500 clip, like they have been actually since probably Christmas time, you know, they should be able to, get into the playoffs. And like I said, this is going to be a nice little playoff experience for this team again. As we talked about 2 years ago, will be a nice little experience for these guys. Some of them, some of them will be their second time around. They'll be a little more experienced. So again, any playoff experience for a young team like this is going to help out right now.
Yeah, and especially with the recent results for this team, I mean, you're getting wins again. You're getting those points, and especially after a really bad game against Winnipeg on deadline day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to hear your thoughts on that because it was a really rough 6-1 loss.
Yeah, and the biggest loser of this game was Simone Nemitz. I mean, his draft. I mean, again, the trade deadline was that afternoon, and then they played that night. And a lot of people were, again, when I was talking about moving for a bigger player, most of the name you were hearing was Nemitz and Casey. The two young defensemen for us. We're going to go the other way. In a bigger move. And after Friday night's game against Winnipeg, a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, why didn't you pull this deal off? Because this guy is horrible." I mean, 3 give-ups in the third. I mean, it really was embarrassing for him, and I felt really bad for the kid because I really want him to succeed in this lineup. Especially, like I said, you build from the back end forward, and the back end looked pretty good coming up, in the next couple years with, like I said, with Simone Nemec and Seamus Casey and other, we have the guy from Russia coming over that might be signing, within the next, couple months now. Grizzlick, he might be coming over from the KHL. So, you have a nice young core there. And like I said, it really had to demoralize Nemeth to give out those 3 goals against Winnipeg. And they were just horrible turnovers. I mean, some of them were just like egregious turnovers. And like I said, it was rock bottom right there for him, and it was rock bottom for the team, especially like I said, when you didn't make the big move and you come out and get shellacked at home, no less. I mean, the fans were not happy at all. But like I said, that's why again, after the Philly game on Saturday, it was nice to see a nice little rebound. And like I said, hopefully they got they got that game out of the way, and now it's gonna be, just straight, right to the playoffs.
Yep. And talking about the playoffs, we were talking about it before we started the show and everything. you're going to be down one key guy for the playoffs. Dougie is out for the season. Tom
Yeah.
Fitzgerald said on a podcast the other day, and is not optimistic about a playoff return either. So the injury
No.
bug is still biting at the Devils.
Yep.
But I've seen people on social media saying that this could be a good chance for Luke to finally step up and take that spot.
Yes.
And
And he really has over the last, and he really has over the last 5 games. Excuse me, 4 or 5. Excuse me, 8 games. He's had 9 points in the last 8 games. So, he's been on a real, streak. He scored a beautiful goal the other day against Columbus. It was really nice snapshot. I mean, they set him up really nice, and he put it right over his shoulder. And like I said, hopefully, like I said, yes, this does bring the emergence of Luke Hughes, to a bigger, especially on that power play, especially that's where they're gonna miss. Dougie is really big on the power play, and if Luke can slide in that position and provide any kind of relief for that, it's gonna help this team, especially on the power play. I feel like, again, Dougie Hamilton is not the best defensive defenseman, and we all know this. He's offensive all the way. He's an offensive player. That's why we got him, and we wanted offense back there. He's a little bit of a liability on defense. So, like I said, with the emergence of Luke Hughes and, like I said, the younger kids, hopefully, like I said, it's going to help out, especially this year and going into years coming up too.
yeah, and I think if he has that chance and is able to utilize the opportunity to be able to step up, do you think the Devils move on from somebody like Dougie at this point? I mean, he's not getting younger.
Getting younger, yep.
He's been hurt more often. I think you have a solid enough prospect core for defense to be able to fill in the spot because it's just one player at that point.
Right,
And I think a team could still use a Dougie Hamilton, but I just don't think at that point, if Luke is stepping up to be that number one guy, that
right.
you really need somebody like him on your team in terms of Dougie. So I think another team could use him, but also think you need to see what Luke can do, and you'll be able to see that tonight when they play against Edmonton. So your thoughts on that game coming up?
Again, this is gonna be one of those games that it's another one of those games they're gonna have to step up in. Like, again, like I said, it was 2 nice wins against Philadelphia. It was a nice win against Columbus, who, again, Columbus fighting for a playoff spot. Philadelphia not so much. But it was 2 good games against two middle of the range team, middle of the road teams. Right now the competition steps up against the Oilers. So I can't wait to see, especially the first 10 minutes of this game, to see how they come out in this game, especially at home. They won 2 in a row. They got the home crowd behind them. If they can come out and put up a 2 spot in the first period, and settle this team down, it could be really good tonight. But again, they go down, 1-0 quick, and that building turns on them. It could get ugly really quick.
Yeah, Edmonton has the ability to still do that,
Right.
and you just got to hope that their goaltending is kind of shaky like it has been for a decent amount of the season because they wanted a goaltender during the trade deadline. But yeah, it's gonna be a good game. I think
No,
the Devils in
absolutely.
Edmonton always play a pretty solid game.
No, absolutely. Yeah. The game they played in Edmonton. Let's say, like, it was early in the season, but it was a really good game. Like I said, I remember watching that game on my little iPad. It was a really good game. So I did, and like I said, we're getting ready for tonight. Said getting ready for the next 19, and this is going to be, like I said, this is also a showcase now for Luke too, to see if would they move on from a Dougie Hamilton. Is he going to step up into this role? I mean, he's really young still, so it's gonna be really hard for him to do. But I feel like, with the pedigree, with the way his skill set is, I think he can accomplish that. And maybe into the off season, maybe they can get something in return for Dougie Hamilton, which would be, you know, I mean, really good. Again, just adding pieces, younger pieces, newer pieces to this team for next year.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting to see what a little bit of a younger, more revamped piece could get in
Right.
terms of this Devils lineup. But I think you should give other other guys a chance, even if it's not throughout a trade. I feel like you could get solid picks and stuff to work for, like with the future,
Oh,
with
absolutely,
Dougie, especially if it's like a
absolutely.
deadline kind of move. Like you could
Right.
use that as a rental and get some solid stuff back.
Oh, absolutely.
But the Rangers didn't get anything back in terms of the trade deadline. Nothing of value. They had two real trades, and one of them was. I don't understand why you would trade and sign a guy just to know that he's old and will probably suck on your team, just to trade him back to the team that he was on two teams ago.
Right.
Riley Smith is now back in Vegas.
Yep.
They got Brendan Brisson, who's a child,
Right.
and may be able to play in the NHL. Nobody knows. The Rangers can't develop anybody, so probably not.
Right.
Um, and a third round pick this year that they then got rid of to bring in Ryan Lindgren Light and Carson Soucy.
Yes.
He scored the other day, which was cool, but that's about it.
That's about it.
um,
But again,
I said that
were you really looking for him to make a big deal though? I mean, I really didn't feel like with this Ranger team. I think they would want to
I
make.
didn't want you to make a big deal where you brought somebody in. I wanted you to make a big deal where you got somebody the fuck out of here for a change.
Yeah, I could agree with
Like
that. Yeah, especially
I
the
didn't
way
want to
he
be
covered all year.
I didn't want to be the receiver of the big player or like the one that wins the deal. I want you to get
Right.
I want you to get these guys off the fucking team.
Right. Exactly.
Uh
But again, especially like I said, after making the Miller deal, I mean, I mean, there was a little hope in Ranger, in Rangerville that you guys, all right, we brought JT Miller. He started out really well. I mean,
the
for the
annoying
team,
thing
and
is
he's
that there
playing
still
really well.
is. Like there's definitely I still have a little bit. I shouldn't, but I do. Cuz like I felt like the JT Miller thing was supposed to be your big trade.
Right.
You got it done at the right time. It helped. But I just feel like you could have used the deadline to get more stuff out.
Right.
I feel like you could have. I feel like there definitely could have been somebody out there that would have wanted Keandre Miller or a Kreider or anything. You could have had. You were talking to the Sabres about JJ Paterka. I would have
Right.
given you Othman, Miller, and a first for JJ Paterka and Kreider. I dropped the first and add Kreider. I don't care. Whatever you wanted to do. I would have rather that than Carson Soucy, Brendan Brisson, who's probably not even going to play for this team, and Carson Soucy's okay. Like, the deadline was fine enough. I didn't want them to do anything crazy, but I wanted a little bit more. Um, because after the deadline, and even the game before against Washington, the Washington game sucked. We talked about it on the episode last week.
Yep.
And then it just got worse. This team just so deeply, bitterly sucks. So bad. 3-2 loss against the Caps in overtime. 4-3 loss against Ottawa. And that was just the big ol' fuck you game. You blew a 3-1 lead after playing a fairly solid game. Man.
It,
It,
it
it's a joke.
it's that
It
time
really
of year.
is.
It really is that time of year for you guys. I mean, like I said, you're still mathematically in, but it just, again, for Rangers fans, I feel like the last week or so, they've kind of like, all right, you know what?
Columbus is
This
just
kinda-
better. There's just so many. Every other team is just significantly better, and I think it's just because the Rangers are suffering from the Pittsburgh problem, where they're just kind of old.
Yeah, absolutely. I think their window is finally.
But even then, it doesn't, because like, sure you're old, but if you get younger, you're not going to be able to develop the young guys because you haven't even developed the young guys. I've seen
Right.
a lot of people, and it's really funny. You trade for Juuso Parssinen, who is a young Finnish player that you want to take a chance on. Where have I heard this before?
Exactly.
With this team, where have I heard this before? A young Finnish player that you want to take a chance on and develop. You had that. And now you have Will Borgen for the next 5 years.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, you did.
I mean, I like Will Morgan. Don't get me wrong. But Capo Caco has been so much better on Seattle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we said that from the beginning of the podcast. He just needed a change of scenery.
Like
And
the only thing that makes
again, it,
the one thing that's making me happy so far is that I haven't really heard that much about Heedle. That's the only good thing.
well,
Like I
yeah,
want him to do good, but I haven't heard anything.
no, I haven't either. Like nothing even like and I get a lot of Vancouver stuff with, being part of the Hughes boys and stuff. I get a lot of Vancouver coverage on my feeds and stuff. So but no, yeah, I really hasn't he's been really a ghost since he's been up there. I mean, shit, you really haven't heard his name a lot.
No, and uh even with the players that you've gotten so far, it's just getting worse. You got routed by Columbus 7-3. You were able to tie it to like the team was able to tie it. They were able to get momentum, but they just can't handle it. Like they can't handle the idea of being able to play in a competitive hockey game. It either has to be a blowout either way
Right.
or the closest game and you still lose. And then you move on to Winnipeg and there's no Cape Canaveral for anybody.
No,
2-1
exactly.
loss. I have a problem with this game. We
Shoot.
always say we don't like dogging out officials on calls and everything. I have a problem with this one.
Okay.
This penalty for goaltender interference in the second period feels like it was because of who was on the ice and who hit the goaltender. Nothing else
Gotcha.
involved because he was pushed. We all know who I'm talking about. The
Oh
big
yeah.
motherfucker. That one.
The Empire State Building, baby.
We all know who I'm talking. He was pushed. He was pushed into Hellebuck. The play was dead too.
Right.
I know you could call a penalty after the play was dead, but he was pushed and the play was dead. There was nothing going on. I don't understand where that's a penalty.
That's what we call that's a repeat offender, and it does
Well,
most of the time. It really does, and it shouldn't, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes when the referees see that one particular player is doing something, even though it
ah,
wasn't nothing to do with them,
ah,
they will
but
call it.
that's not how this
It's not
works.
how it
That's
should
not
work.
how this should work.
I
Like that's
agree. No,
that's not how
absolutely.
this works. That's not how any of this works. What do you repeat of oh my I can't it's the Matt Rempe rule. It's the Matt Rempe rule. It's in the I guess it's in the rule books under penalties. If he's on the ice, your arm's in the air. Man, oh my god. And then if they didn't score on the power play, I wouldn't even talk about this. It would just be
Right.
like that's a bad call and then we'd move on. But that's the game fucking winner, Gunk. I man, I really just I don't understand. It's so bad. And like that's the it's they just can't seem to handle the adversity of having to be down in a hockey game because you're not a good team. They can't handle any of it. You're losing winnable games. And you could have won this game against Winnipeg. You had momentum at times, but you just couldn't handle it. You had momentum against Columbus. I said it. You couldn't handle it. You had it against Ottawa. Couldn't handle it. You had it against the Caps. Couldn't handle it. You led in all. You had leads in almost all of these games. Half of them. You were tied against Columbus 3-3 after being down 3-1. And you were able to tie it by scoring a fucking power play goal for the first time in a year and a half against fucking Winnipeg. And it was fucking Mika. That should have been playing the parade.
Right.
But now it's playing the funeral. Like, oh my god. Like, and now you play tonight against Minnesota. Zuccarello's going to go for a hattie on you because, hey, we're the Rangers. This is how it goes. But,
Right.
I don't get it because you're so close. You're so close. So close. And you're you're shooting yourself in the foot. I I keep saying I don't want this team to make the playoffs, and I don't. But if they get into the playoffs and this is how they're playing, I won't even watch a game. I won't even watch. I won't tune in. I'll watch. I'll do the Gunk thing of last year. Pick a different team, ride with that team. As they get eliminated, I pick a new one, and we go on from there.
That's it.
Gunk can pick my teams this time, and it'll never be the Devils, and we'll figure it out from there. It'll probably just be the Leafs.
There you go. Go Leafs,
But
go for you again.
Let's go Leafs. We are not losing this game in front of the Rock.
But let me just bring up something with the penalty situation. I go by the Bill I can't even talk. Bill Belichick version that if a penalty is called, there should be some kind of review just to make sure it's an actual penalty. Because some of these penalties they're calling are terrible, and I feel like any penalty should be able to be reviewed. Just on the merit of it, and that's where you throw a challenge or something, and that maybe that play doesn't happen, and they call it back, and maybe the fortunes change. But again, you never know. At this point,
I don't even want to throw a challenge. I want to throw fists. Like I want hands. I want hands going. I'm tired of this shit. I want new referees that are not like. I want referees that understand how fast the game is now, and that is a push into the goaltender. Look, like you're looking at the play. It was off a face-off.
Right.
That's a man.
Speaking of throwing hands, first of all, we gotta go. Speaking of throwing hands, I gotta give props this week to, as we talk about the Leafs, Simone Benoit's Superman punch. The Superman punch.
He telegraphed too much, so he missed.
But it was the video. I don't care if he tried to do it. It was the great. It was so funny.
Absolutely, I respect the effort to do it while on knife shoes, because you don't need to do all of that ever. Yeah. And you know what? To try to pull it off, sure you missed, but you know what? You still got up there.
And it looked good.
Yeah.
It looked good.
You don't see that anymore. So I thought it was funny. But yeah, absolutely.
The League memes were hilarious. Those last couple of days were hilarious.
And then we had fight night last night.
That was the best punch in a long time I've seen in a
hockey fight. And then fight night last night between it was Detroit and I want to say Montreal or whoever they were playing.
It was Buffalo.
Oh, it was Buffalo. Okay.
Yeah, it was Buffalo.
Montreal played Utah. They had the 4 seconds into overtime goal. That's what I was thinking about.
Montour goal. Yeah.
Let's talk about that one real quick. Did you see the goal? Because if you haven't, go look it up, and then we can talk about it. Because I'll just kind of vamp while you're looking for it. It is the dumbest face-off structure I've ever seen to start overtime, and then the way the face-off is won does not make sense for the face-off structure. The way they're lined up does not make sense for the way the puck is won.
Okay, hold on. I pulled up. You talk about the Seattle game, right?
Yeah. Okay, Utah and Montreal.
Wow.
From last night. They're lined.
That was crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh whatever. Yes, Seattle. Whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
you got it. It's from last night. It's an overtime game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lined up, all three on the line. You win it back. And Brandon Montour's faster than your entire team.
Now, see, I would love to pull that off this weekend in my playoff game. Would have one of my girls just open, just throw her the ball and lay it in. That would make my day so good this weekend. I swear.
Well,
but that was a good. That was. I like that. That was very nice setup on that.
Yeah, very good to get around everybody and rush it down. But man, what's that face off lineup? Why have all three and then decide, you know what, let's win it back? Because Montreal won the face-off. That puck wasn't pushed forward. That was won back.
No, it was won back.
I'm not sure what you were doing there. And then Detroit had fight night.
Yes.
The best referee call for penalties. Detroit has a minor for roughing. every other guy has a misconduct.
Oh God.
Get the fuck out.
The Sabres bench was so empty. It was hilarious last night. I was watching highlights, and then, like you said, you see the bench. I would think if there was 10 players on the bench, that was a lot. I mean, holy crap! It was like you had enough room for elbow room in these guys. Holy shit!
Man, it's so funny. It's
Gotta
so
love
funny.
this sport. It is the best
But,
sport ever. You need
It
to love
really
it.
is. And
Seriously.
gang, we are trying to be the best podcast ever, and that's what we're doing every week. Because
Yes,
this
sir.
has been another episode and another week of the What the Puck podcast. I've been Nick. That's been Gunk. Gunk, we got Devils and Rangers hockey tonight. And
Yes, sir.
we shall see what goes on, and we will talk to you all next week. Be
Yes,
safe.
sir.
Love y'all. Peace.
Peace.